On this Uber driver app tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the destination filter. First things first, when you pull up the Uber driver app, you're going to click the magnifying glass in the upper right. Then this will pop up. As you can see, destination filter, you have 2 uses per day. And if you want to, you can add in your home location because a lot of people do use it to, let's say, go home. And hey, if you have to go home anyway, why not try to get a ride on the way? Now, once you turn it on, you're going to see this. That when it's on, you can get trips that take you toward your destination. Use it 2 times per day, like I said. When the filter is off, I feel like this kind of makes sense. You can still get trips. They might not necessarily be along the way. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. And to turn on or off this filter, return to search, right? So basically, you turn it on and it tries to find rides that bring you, or the drop-off location is close to that exact point that you've selected. So I can pick anywhere that I want. In this case, I picked the Santa Monica Pier, as you can see. So first off, I have the destination filter on, of course. It is filtering trips, so hopefully the drop-off location is by the Santa Monica Pier. Another feature that's on this, you can see, is Arrive By. Now, let's say I'm going home. I'd probably just click Go Online and Navigate because, hey, I'm going to go home right now. Hopefully I get a ride that the drop-off location is close to this exact point. However, what I can do is go into it. And let's say I'm driving and I'm like, you know what? I want to meet up with my friends at the Santa Monica Pier for maybe the sunset, for example. I'm going to put it for 6. That way, hopefully I do a bunch of rides. I'm doing, a big driving session. And then I'm giving the app the heads up saying, hey, as this time approaches, see if you can find a ride that drops me off around this time. Being honest though, I feel like I really wouldn't use this feature as much, or if anything, I'd use it more like manually, right? So let's say I'm just watching the clock, it's 5 p.m. And then I'm like, all right, it's 5 p.m. Now I want to head to the pier. It might be about 45 minutes away. I have to get parking, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to leave now and have the time be ASAP. Now, you may be wondering, how is this feature useful? I have to be honest, it's interesting. Obviously, different apps, one to another. The Lyft driver app has multiple modes, 3 different modes of their destination filter. It is really, really good. I'm not going to lie. The Uber one, I feel like is a bit more limited, right? I feel like when it comes to the destination filter, when it comes to Uber, like I said, you may be wondering, how can I use this? Can I use this to make more money? The biggest thing is this. Are you going to a place and you're hoping to get a ride to that place? That's pretty much it, right? I think the biggest instance out of anything is one, going home, right? You got done with your driving. You're like, hey, I have to go home anyway. Why not get a ride on the way? I mentioned this example in my Lyft driver app tutorial about the destination filter. And this is true, that I actually got a ride when going home. The person walked up to the car, turns out it was my roommate. And he's like, Mark? And I'm like, Alex? So I literally drove my roommate home, which is a bit weird because it still felt like a Lyft ride, but also technically was my roommate. It was kind of odd, right? But I literally got paid to drive exactly back to my house. Of course, a very unique and crazy luck example, but that can happen potentially, right? So that is the advantage of the destination filter. Another big pro tip I will give, and I think this is a big one, not just going home, is being brought back into the search pocket, the event, where you're located, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, backtracking. So let's say you get an Uber intercity ride, which typically can pay, it does depend. Sometimes a good amount. It does depend, but sometimes they can pay a decent amount. Like say I'm doing a big drive, 3 hours away. LA to San Diego, like a 3-hour drive. Well, on one end, it's kind of like a bittersweet situation where on one end, sometimes that 3-hour drive, especially let's say if you happen to get it at a surge when you pick them up or whatever, can pay a good amount of money. But then you realize, oh yeah, you have to kind of cut that in half because you have to drive all the way back, right? Yeah, LA to San Diego, great. Coming back, not so great. So this is a great feature as well, saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to turn on the destination filter specifically for LA. That way, I just did this big intercity ride, but now, hopefully, I can get a ride back, right? Not necessarily going home. I just want to get back to LA in general, right? And I think this is a very useful feature for that. In addition, I feel like this happens a lot. Like, let's say it's a Friday night, and it's midnight or 1 a.m., and you're doing a big ride from, like, say, the hot spot of the nightlife in your area to a random residential area. Well, hopefully, you turn it on. Around 1 a.m. is going to be tough to say, but you never know. Maybe people are going to the after hours or you never know what people's situations are. Maybe you can get another ride going from the residential area back into the hotspot. That way you get brought back in. Because I remember that would happen a lot. Kind of similar to an Uber in a city ride where, let's say, I pick somebody up at the nightlife-ish area and I drive them 20, 30 minutes away to some residential area. And now I'm like, great, I have to drive all the way back. And at 1 a.m., who's going to go out to the bar at that time or out to that nightclub or out to that venue, whatever. But then again, you never know. And this is where the destination filter can really come in handy. But keep in mind, you only get 2 per day. That's it. So I do say use them wisely. I feel like, let's say if you finish driving, you're like, I'm done for the day. You might as well use it when going home. I mean, hey, why not? But in addition, another good feature about this, I figure, is what I like to call one-off rides. I call this the one-hit wonder technique. Let's say it's a Friday night. I'm not driving. I'm not driving through Uber whatsoever. If I'm, let's say, driving to my friend's place, and I'm going to be crashing there because I want to be safe and responsible, and it's a 30-minute drive, I might as well turn on the app. My car is almost always clean anyway, right? It's not like I have to prepare all this intricate stuff to be a driver. No, I just drive, right? So I figure hey, let me turn on the destination filter. If I get a ride that's kind of close to my friend's place, I'll do it because it's almost like getting paid a little bit extra money to drive to my friend's place. If I don't get a ride, or let's say they keep popping up and they're just nothing's close, I reject them because hey, I wasn't really planning on driving anyway. I just figured hey, if I can get $20 extra in my pocket to drive to my friend's place, that's 2 extra drinks at the bar or whatever, not too bad. And those kind of one-off rides aren't a bad idea. And I've mentioned this before in other videos. There are some times, say when I was working, I would leave my house early, especially in the morning commuting hours when the peaks are high, set that destination filter to my office or my job site or wherever I'm going. That way, it's like getting paid to drive to work, and usually morning commuting hours can pay a good amount. And like I said, it's not that I'm oh man, I'm gonna be doing a huge driving session today and blah, blah, blah. It's no, I'm really doing one ride, one or done, right? One hit wonder where I'm if I can get one ride only, just one only, and I get paid to basically drive to the place I was driving to anyway, why not get extra cash on top of that?